So far, I've been teaching regarding the Cold War in my classroom, right? And I love the Cold War. One of my favorite things to talk about, to be honest. Got your wars, you got your nuclear bombs. I mean, who's not going to love that? But there's a few factors that I wish to talk about within this Cold War. And it starts here. One, it's very interesting to see how Americans kind of center focused on the word communist and how that word became synonymous with literally anything that was going on within the United States. You know, you can have your neighbor wear a red shirt, boom, they're a communist. You could have your friends or family, maybe they get you the wrong gift, boom, they're a communist. And I find these things kind of interesting, especially with the amount of propaganda that was being released through America at this time. It was relentless. Every single day was a brand new thing. And what of it? We pinned Americans against Americans. And not only that, but during the time of this Cold War, we also had the space race as well. Of course, really thanks to President John F. Kennedy, in my opinion, where he created NASA, he made easily operational, developments so that people could get resources in order for them to actually go to the moon to begin with. But then people don't talk about the more important things, such as the violent protests that was happening during this Cold War. Protests regarding civil rights, protests regarding the Vietnam War, some even with the Korean War, the Lost War, if you want to think about it. That's what it's called. But what worries me when I was teaching this was just the amount of information that was just lost. No joke here, but lost to history. I know within my lesson, we had nothing that was going to talk about the My Lai massacre, which I don't even need to go into detail about. Go look it up if you want. There's plenty of videos, but in its most simplistic form, American soldiers were tasked to kill civilians that were deemed Viet Cong soldiers, Vietnamese communists, as they were called. And it's scary when you think about these factors, because why are we as an America, why are we as a people forced to kill others that we don't know, we've never seen before, and we're just following orders? Yeah, I think another group of people used to follow orders as well, and for some reason, American history just chalks it up to, oh well. Really? Maybe I'm missing a few things here, but I don't think that's a good thing to just shrug your shoulders at. And more importantly, I think it's scary that this isn't even brought up either. When I was doing research about the My Lai massacre, the last time this was even on, because I teach AP United States history, the last time that I saw this ever being stated or as a question was in 2008. Why is something like that happening so long ago? Why are there no up and coming developments? Why aren't there new questions about the war crimes America has committed during this time? There's more and more I can get into, of course, but let's just stick with the simple factors of the Cold War, the propaganda, that is. Right during the 1950s, you had the rise of McCarthyism. You had to make sure that Americans followed every single procedure of American law, and if you weren't full-blooded red, white, and blue, you cut your arm and you start seeing that leak out of you, then what are you then? Are you a true-blooded American? Are you someone that truly cares about patriotic ways? It's scary. And of course, this is happening in the Soviet Union as well. And you had school teachers, you had professors that were being forced to teach in certain ways. These are terrifying things that I feel as if is happening now. Maybe not in the sense that, the government's not coming up to me to tell how to teach, right? But I find it very worrisome where a lot of things that I have to discuss in history aren't in the book, and I have to say it so that my students know the problems that are happening within our history so that we don't repeat it. That's the few factors that I've been seeing when teaching this class, and I really hope to get a bit more into when I record more and more for this channel. I want to talk about the things that you might not hear in your history class. I want to talk about the things that you may not hear. Let's say if you're watching this and you're in 8th grade, or you're watching this and you're in 9th, or hopefully you're watching this because you want to watch AP US history, or you want to learn something, or maybe you're a teacher. These things should be brought up in class. Yes, I know we don't have a lot of time. 50 minutes at most. At least that's for me. And then I have one day, well, 2 days, because it's a block schedule, for an hour and 30 minutes. Still not enough time to go into these factors. And it's also worrisome because some of these factors aren't even on the exam. These are scary times when you discuss these factors. And also, you want to make sure that students are prepared for your exam, but they're also prepared for the real world. And I think that's something that needs to happen more. I want to make sure that all my students are prepared for the realities that are ahead of them. I want to make sure that my students understand the realities that are going to be happening when they enter in the workforce, when they enter in college, that they're prepared and they understand what's happening. But I digress. Looking at the propaganda in the wake of the 1950s, literally through all the way to the 1970s, and the different presidents that kept wanting to go into war and war and war and keep going and never stop doing that as well. You had FDR wanting to go into World War II. The main reason, in my opinion, why we got out of the Great Depression was because of war. Then you had Lyndon B. Johnson, Harry Truman, my bad. You had Harry Truman, the one who dropped the atomic bombs. Sometimes scary times. I don't want to get my presidents mixed up, so I can't really go in an order. Sorry, I'm just kind of driving right now. But John F. Kennedy, a person that was for civil rights, a person that was for freedoms, or Lyndon B. Johnson, signing the Civil Rights Act. Where do we see more of that? These are things we should be discussing and talking about. Instead, sometimes I have to center focus on matters that U.S. history doesn't go far into, where we should be talking about the problems that America did during World War II, such as a good example is I couldn't even talk too much about the internment camps. I had to talk more about the propaganda that was happening within America for World War II. Why is that? More examples. At least let's go back to Cold War. Sorry, I'm going to be ranting, but it is what it is, okay? Now, that's what you get when you get to this channel, alright? But going back to the Cold War, most modern day, what I like to call Walmart Americans, your average Joe, are going to want to make sure that they're pure-blooded Americans, that they root for their country, that why would you not want to cheer on the soldiers that are living within the United States, right? That fighting for freedom. But then you have to understand, why are we fighting in these certain wars? What's happening? Then these protests happen over in America against the Vietnam War. And these protests are predominantly for the fact that we don't want war to happen. War sucks. Many are dying. But that's bad because during Vietnam, obviously a lot of people weren't too mad about protesting against the war because we were winning. We were doing well. Then all of a sudden, Tet Offensive happens. Yeah, sure, we fight back. It's a surprise attack and we were able to defend ourselves. But the thing is, our government lied to us. Our government was saying that we were winning the war, that we were doing well, and now all of a sudden we're not? Why is that? I made sure that I had to talk about these things because they weren't even in my lesson plans. These are scary times, at least for me. And I may be a little bit hyperbolic when I say that. I don't mean to say that things are like terrifying and oh my god, the world's going to end. But if we're not telling our students at least the simple things that are happening within our government that are corrupted, that are terrible, like, yeah, we talked about the muckrakers. Why aren't we talking about the muckrakers that are during the Vietnam War? That start releasing all these documents, such as the Pentagon Papers. Why aren't we talking about that more? They're muckrakers too. Well, now they're called whistleblowers, but still, you get the point. There needs to be far more stuff about this. And in my opinion, now this is a hot take for sure, okay? But in my opinion, I feel that 8th grade should be 1792. Or sorry, oops, my bad. 1492, you know, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, the only thing people remember, all the way up to the 1900s. I feel that AP US history should take a turn, and AP US history should be starting at least when we start doing imperialism, right? 1896, 1898, with the Spanish-American War. I think that's how AP United States history should begin. Because we should be talking way more about modern history. I remember I'm going through my lesson plans right now, and it's talking about 2014. What are we doing? Why are we talking about 2014? Why aren't we talking about present day? We're at the end of our unit, basically. Teachers need more time to discuss these certain events. I want more time to talk about the Vietnam War. I want more time to talk about the Korean War. I literally had one day to talk about the Korean War. Yeah, I guess it's not that important. But still, come on. Really? I had 3 days to talk about the Civil War. In my opinion, one of the most important wars ever. And there's a lot of channels online, one specifically to do like kind of joke routines. So fantastic. And I learned a lot about the Civil War thanks to him. Yet, why are we only teaching that for 3 days? These are insane events that need to be discussed. But when it comes to the Cold War, the corruption, when it comes to understanding the propaganda and why that was happening, because the American government wanted to make sure that the people went over to war. Who do you need to fight with? Who do you need in order to fight in a war? You need soldiers, and those soldiers need to have a cause, need to have a reason for why they wish to go to war, why they want to fight to begin with. So of course you're only going to talk about the good stuff. Why would you ever talk about the bad? Why would you ever do that? This is where we start seeing the propaganda. This is where more and more people start wanting to fight in Vietnam. And then when people actually go into Vietnam, the soldiers are actually there. They're like, why are we here? What's going on? What are we even fighting for to begin with? And this distrust in American government starts to rise up and begin. And this is where it leads into the 1980s, where even today, where a lot of people just don't believe in our government. They don't believe in our newspapers. They don't believe in the sources. And it all stemmed from the Cold War, which, in my opinion, still has not stopped. Korean War still has not stopped. The fight over communism has only changed into the fight over terrorism. You gotta have a villain in your story. I'm just wondering what the next one is. Now, I'm Mr. Solomon, and I hope to see you in the next history lesson. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, do whatever. Sorry this was, in the car or whatever, but I kind of wanted to talk about this. And I got my little dash cam, and we'll see if the video works, because it cuts it up into 3 minutes. Whatever. Why am I ranting? I'm still ranting. I don't know why. Anyway, see you in the next history lesson, okay? Bye-bye.